G'day mates, I come from a land down under. Can't you hear that thunder? You better run, you better take cover. What are we taking cover from? What are we running from? What's the thunder? Is it the emus running along the soil? Is that where we're running from? Is that where we're taking cover from? In the 30s, the Australian army went to war against these emu. And they lost? In World War I, the Australian army fought valiantly with the New Zealanders at the Gallipoli landings. It was part of the Anzac troops, or the Australian New Zealand Army Corps. And as a part of the reward for fighting valiantly and being veterans, some veterans were given land to farm with in Western Australia. Before this, there were no farms in the area, so they're adding farms, they're adding crops. And what this is adding food source for the local animals. So things like rabbits and emu, which we'll get into in a second, have now things to eat. So now an emu, you probably know what an ostrich is. Emu is like its cousin, it's smaller. An ostrich is tall, strong, big round, and then a big long neck. Yeah, like one of these, you know what I mean? Emu, it's got the neck, it's got the legs, but instead of a big ball, it's more of like a swoop shape, and they're bouncy. Okay, so emus are bouncy, they're looking more like a meerkat in its movement than an ostrich. So they have these emu, and now these emu are eating the crops they're planting. They put up fences, the emu tear the fences down, eat the crops, all the other animals get to come in. The farmers are like, this sucks, there's emus eating our plants. And then boom, it's also the Great Depression. Now you know the Great Depression probably in America, but it was actually a worldwide event. It hit all around the world in different times. So it wasn't exactly when America had it, the rest of the world had it. Some countries were done with their depression, while other countries were just starting. In Australia, the farmers were losing money on their crops. The government said, we'll subsidize you, which means we'll pay you for the crops if they don't sell. But make as many as you can. In fact, make more than you did last year. So the farmers are like, we're gonna make so much food, you won't know what to do with it. And they did it. The government didn't pay them their subsidy, so it failed and they lost money. But they told them next year, we got you. Do the same thing. So we have all these veterans and all these new farms. They're making as much crops as possible. And the government isn't really paying for them. So they're making so much crops and they need to sell all of this as much as they can. But the emu are coming through and eating their crops. They're tearing down fences and eating the crops, and other animals are coming in. And they're PO'd. They're sitting there and they're thinking, you know what? If we had those guns we had before, those machine guns, those automatic guns, we could kill those birds. If we had those guns, we'd kill the birds. So they think, you know what? Let's call the government, let's call the army, and let's ask for assistance. And the government actually provided that assistance. They sent one artillery commander and they gave him 2 soldiers to work with. So a big army here for this war. And the 2 soldiers were provided with 2 Lewis guns. Now a Lewis gun, picture a regular machine gun, long, and then put a dinner plate on top of it, or a frisbee. It had a pan magazine, so it looked like a dinner plate. That's kind of what we're working with today. And they had 2 of them, so each of his guys underneath them had a gun. And altogether they got 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The amount of birds they were expected to kill, these are horses, but they're standing for emu today, 20,000. So if we do simple math here, we have 3 men with 2 guns versus 20,000. And they only have 10,000 rounds. So every single kill has to be 2 birds, 1 stone. A double kill, a collateral, quick scopes. I'm talking montage-worthy shots here. They need to take 2 emus out for every 1 bullet. And guess what? Spoiler alert, it's not gonna happen. They spend the first few days failing. They might kill 4 or 5 emu, 6 or 7 emu. And they get the great idea. Why don't we herd the emu up? Let's get a big group of them, send them towards the guns. That makes sense, right? Of course, that's what you're thinking. They get about 1,000 emu and they get them running towards the guns. Guess what happens? They start firing, gun jams. Gun jams. They kill 12 emu of 1,000. The rest of them just run away. They're falling apart. The commander thinks, I got a great idea. We'll put one of the guns on the back of a truck and we'll drive around and we'll shoot them as they run away. That's a genius idea. You've probably seen this in militias around the world and on the news and things like that. But it was a terrible idea because they're in Western Australia. The terrain is rough and rocky. The emu don't care. They're gonna run over anything and they can run up to 31 miles per hour. The trucks in that condition cannot reach that speed. So the emu just outpaced them. And when they're on the back of the truck, it's shaking too much for him to shoot. So it's a complete failure. They make this machine and it fails. The emus start catching on to what's happening to them and they start splitting off into groups. Now this sounds false, but they're literally like guerrilla tactics. They're getting into small groups and they all have leaders. Each group has a leader emu. He's big, tall, black, has feathers, and he just keeps alert the whole time. Just watching for the guys. Everyone else eating the crops. He's watching for the guys. They literally have leaders now in this war, and the men are failing. The government is angry because the newspapers are publicizing this. They're saying the Australian army's fighting the emus and they've killed few emu. Few emu. They go to the government. The government's like, what is happening? We got to stop this. And they ask for a report. The commander's saying that these birds are like tanks. The amount of bullets we can put into them and they'll shake off and keep running. If we had emu on the field, we would beat any army in the world for the amount of bullets they can take. Their claims that the birds are thinking smarter than them and they're failing. It's really a mess. They spent 2,500 rounds of ammunition. And if we're using our earlier calculations for 2 for 1, they should have killed, or they need to kill at least 5,000 birds with that amount of ammo. They killed a little under 50. So it's an utter failure. And the government's like, we gotta stop this. This is it, we're done. A day later, the military's like, can we get another chance, please? Can we try again? Can we please try again? And they said, you could try again, 1 more week. And that week goes like a little bit better, but it's not great. They're actually successful in herding some emus up, pushing them towards the guns, they're killing them. The end of the week, they go to the government. They say we've shot 9,860 rounds. That's a lot more than they shot the previous week. Their total number killed, 986. They killed 1 emu for every 10 bullets. The government's like, this is not cost effective. This is a failure. We're giving up. The emus have won. So the emus have won the war at this point. They failed. They've killed enough emus so it helps the local crop population, but it's nowhere near that 20,000 total they wanted. 2 years go by. It's 1934. Guess what? Emu are back. They're back and they're stronger. They're in their numbers. They're back. And there's a drought. So there's less crops, more birds eating the crops. That's less crops you can sell. So they're mad. The farmers are mad. They're saying, let's go back to the government. We'll ask for help again. It worked kind of last time. And they asked the government, and the government says, no, that was a terrible idea. Here's what we'll do. You farmers, you can kill the emu yourself. You bring me an emu head, I'll give you a little money. So they give a bounty system, what pretty much every government in the world does when this is an issue, instead of sending the military in to kill birds, okay? So it's a bounty system in 1934. Over the next 6 months, the farmers kill emu. And over that next 6 months, they turn in 57,034 dead emu. Now, if you're worried about oh no, the emu dead, or they lost, the emu are fine. They're ranked as least concern on the extinction index. They're fine. There's a ton of emu. Ask Australian, they'll say, we got plenty of emu. We're fine. But 57,000 are killed in 6 months by regular farmers. The army killed maybe 1,000 altogether. The army failed. They lost their war against the emu, but the people of Australia, they won. These birds are strong, fast, agile. They can take a bullet, but they won. The birds of America, though, aren't real. They're drones put there by the government. Ronald Reagan in the 80s killed all the birds, and now the birds that we have in America are spies. They sit on the power lines looking at you to charge their electrical power systems. That's why they're up there. Of course, this is fake, of course. Birds are real, okay? Birds are not, the conspiracy theory that says birds aren't real, that is fake. Birds are real. If you like the video, why don't you give it a like? If you want to see our videos every week, hit subscribe. If you want to get a notification every time I post a video, there's a bell. If you hit the bell, you'll get notified every time there's a video. If you have an idea for a video, like today we did Emu War, if you have an idea for a video, comment section. Say, I would like you to do this, or I would like you to do that. Mom, I'm still not listening to your comments. You can still fill them up. I'm still not going to listen. I've still been Trent. Guess what? You've still been the audience. Have a great day.